Hi everyone, my name's Alison and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and welcome to part 4. This is the final video. We're actually at the stage now where we're going to be making the box to put in our 12 gift cards that we've made. If you have missed the tutorials for this, I will put a link up in the top right hand corner, and that will take you to part 3 where part 3 will then take you to part 2 and so on. So the tutorials showed you how to make these cards. So this was the first tutorial, this was the quilted card, and then the second tutorial was showing you how to make these cards, and then the third tutorial I showed you how to make these 2 cards using the lovely peony dies here. And I also then showed you the final 6 cards, which were just more straightforward. It was just different size mats using the lovely Peony Garden DSP. Okay, and then that's the last 12, which gives us 12 matching gift cards. So now what we're going to do is make a nice corresponding box, or a matching box, using the basic grey cardstock, which is what we've used to do our card bases in, and then for the lid I'm going to be using this lovely petal pink design, which again is from the Prized Peony DSP. So the sizes that we're going to need, so for the lid you're going to need a piece of DSP that is 9.25 inches by 7.25 inches. You're also going to want a piece of Whisper White cardstock, which we're going to be stamping an image onto to put onto the lid. I think that's going to be, actually I might need to make that a bit smaller, we'll wait and see, but this for the moment you're going to want at least 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And then for the base I'm going to cut that through with you now, because we just have to do something a little bit, well, there's a little extra step we need to do, which is really important if you want the lid to fit on nicely. So we're going to need our trimmer, and along the long side we want to measure at 11 3/4. So when you get to the 11 3/4, I'll try and hold it up as best as I can. You get to the 11 3/4, you then just want to move it back slightly so that we're just taking a slightly less off. So it's 11 3/4, and then just move it away slightly so it's not quite 11 3/4. You can do the 11 3/4 first and then do it again, but I just find if you do 11 3/4, take a slight bit off and cut that, and then you want to do the same, so rotate it round half a turn, and then we want to do 9 3/4, and again we want to do the same again, so line it up to the 9 3/4 and then just move it back slightly so that it's not quite 9 3/4. And again, if you don't do this step, you'll then find that your lid won't fit on the base properly, so it's very important just to take that little bit off. Okay, so now while we've got our base, we now need to do some scoring. So we want to score at, let's just move that over a bit, in fact we can close this arm now, there's a bit more room. So we want to line up at 2 1/2 inches and then just score. And I find the best way to do this is to then rotate and line up to 2 1/2 inches again, rather than doing 2 1/2 and moving it across at 2.5, rotate that around, line up to 2.5 again, and score that, and then rotate again for the final side and score at 2.5 again. So you've now got, probably can't see that overly well, you can just make that out. So we've got 2.5 all around edge there. So then we want to grab our lid again, and for this we will be scoring at 1.25 inch all the way round. So line up at 1.25, and because this is DSP, it's obviously a bit thinner than the cardstock, so you don't want to push down too hard, otherwise you'll end up ripping through. And then rotate again, line up 1.25, rotate, line up to 1.25, rotate again, and line up at 1.25. And there is our lid. So that's all our scoring done. So we can move our trimmer away. And we'll do our base first. I like to actually fold and burnish our score lines first. You just want to check that it lines up on the edges neatly there. And then once you're happy with that, we can then just burnish the edges. And this does make a nice deep box. I mean, you could actually fit more than 12 cards in if they weren't, you know, if you didn't have a lot that was thicker, you could put more cards in. So right, so that's that. So now what we want to do now is we want to make some just little tabs. I mean, if you've made boxes before, it is pretty straightforward. So feel free to fast forward by all means, but all we want to do now is just cut down our score line. And I prefer to do that first, and then I cut just a wedge off like that, and then cut a wedge off on the other side so that we've got that. Okay, and then we want to do the same on this side. So cut up the score line, and then just cut a wedge off and then cut a wedge off on the other side like that. Okay, and then we want to turn it round and do the same with these two here. Okay, so we've now got our 4 tabs. So we just want to bring up each side like that, and then the edges should just line up nicely on the edge there on each side. So in fact we just need to fold the tabs in again. I forget to, that looks as if I forgot to fold this side in. Just check that that all lines up, which it should do. So we'll just apply some glue on the tabs, and then just bring that up. Like that. Just check that you've got it meeting nicely on the corners. And put some glue on this tab. Then just checking that lines up nicely there. And then for this side I'll put glue on the tabs both at the same time because it's a bit awkward otherwise, trying to get the glue on the tab and it's already been folded in like that, so we'll put glue on the both. Like that. What you can do is use your bone folder just to rub on the tab, just so that you know that the glue is all spread over nicely. You don't have to do that, but just gives it a nice even covering of glue then. Again, just checking that your corners are still lined up. And there you have that. Okay, so that's our base. So we'll leave that to one side to dry. And then we just do the same again for our lid. I don't know if you can make out the score lines there, but you just want to cut up the score lines again like we did for the base. In fact, what we'll do first is we will fold our lines first. That's what's nice actually with doing this with DSP, that you've got a nice, because it's double-sided, all of our DSP is double-sided, it looks nice underneath the lid as well. There we go, so that's all those folded, and so now we'll do it this way. So if you've got the shorter edge facing towards you, we'll cut up the score line, and then again just cut then a wedge off on each side, and then repeat that for the other corner, rotate around and do the same on these two tabs. Okay, so that's our tabs made. Let's get rid of our little pieces. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing as we did with the base. We just bring up the edges and they should just line up. You might find sometimes that it's just slightly off, but it won't shouldn't make too much of a... You can always cut a piece off there if it's not lining up quite. But we can do that afterwards. I won't bother, I don't think that looks alright to me. That's fine. Okay, so we'll just stick those on together. And so there we now have our lid. And so now if we bring our base back, you should hopefully find that the lid fits on there nicely. Okay, and again, so just to remind you, with the base you have to cut off that little bit, because if you didn't do that, then your lid would not fit on the base. And you'll find that this base will fit the C6 envelopes nicely in there. And then our cards just fit in there nicely, like that. And then we can put our lid on top, like that. Okay, and so you can just leave it at that. You know, if you don't mind that just on the top like that, then fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the peony stamp set, because I haven't actually, through all the cards, used this lovely flower here yet from the Prized Peony stamp set. So I thought that would be ideal to put on a piece of Whisper White, which we'll then put on the lid of our box. So I think this will be fine. Yep, that's going to fit on there nice. I think I'm also going to die cut out, once we've done our peony, I'm going to, do I die cut out the peony or shall I put it straight on? I don't think I'm going to die cut the peony. I'm going to put the peony on here and then we shall yeah, see how that looks. So I've got my stamp out and I'm going to use Smoky Slate again, which I've used on one of the other cards. In fact, because this is quite a big stamp, I should turn the ink pad over and apply the ink that way. Like that. Just going to get a piece of scrap actually, just so I can just check that that's... Yeah, that's nice, because it's not too dark. I didn't want anything too dark on there, which I think black would have been. There we go. Move that out of the way. And then we just want to stamp this in as much in the centre as we can. That. There we go, that's so nice. It does almost look like a photograph actually. And I think what we'll do is I'm going to use the rectangle stitched dies, which I think if we put that on there, that's just going to give that a nice edge. And I will colour in this flower, but I like to die cut it out first, because the last thing I'd want to do is spend all the time colouring it in and then go to die cut it and something happens that the die moves or something like that. So I do like to colour in afterwards. So let's place that down and then okay. And then that just gives that a nice stitched edge. Okay, and I think what we'll do, like we've done with the other flowers, I'm going to colour in the shaded areas that are already on the stamp with dark petal pink. And I might actually even colour, no, I'm not going to do the leaves because we haven't done the leaves on the other, so we'll just do the flower and the little bud there. Again, just on the shaded areas that are already on the stamp. If I show you. Okay, so we'll just do that all over the flower. And there you go. So it's just very subtly coloured in. And then this can go on top of our lid like that. And I think we will just put that on flat. We're not going to put it on any dimensionals. I'm wondering about whether to also, the suite does come with this lovely grey ribbon. Yes, I think we might put a bit of ribbon just around there, and then we put a little bow on as well. So let's if we just wrap that around like that, that should be nice. So I think we'll hold that in place with, I've got some mini glue dots might work for that. On the side there. Right, so we'll put a little glue dot oops, that hasn't worked very well, has it? Right, let's use a pokey tool. And in fact, we'll start at the front so we know got it where we want to. So about there. And we'll put one in the middle. And one about there. And then we can line up our ribbon. and just press down, and that will stick onto the glue dots, and then turn it over. Probably didn't need to have all that tail, but never mind. And then we'll just put another tear that off there. We only need to put one on this side because obviously it's going to be stuck down onto our lid, and then we'll just cut off and fold that around there. Like that. Okay. And then I think what we'll do, while it's off of the lid, so before we stick it on the lid, I'm just going to go over some of the colouring that I've done with some Wink of Stella. Just brings it out a bit. There we go. I know you're not going to be able to see that, but it does look lovely. Just brings out the colour a bit. Right, so now we've got that, we shall now stick that onto our lid, just using some glue. There we go, and then just check that that's stuck down. And you can, if you want to, actually take the lid off and just turn it over. Carefully push down, checking that it's not moved. There we go. That, and I think we'll make a little bow. Very fiddly. That's probably an easier way of doing this. There we go, and then we'll just bring that in a bit. Okay, and then we'll just cut off our ends. Just cut that one a bit more. There we go. And then we'll use another little glue dot. Just put that on the corner there. And I think we'll finish off by just putting some of the champagne rhinestones, which are also on some of the cards. So I've noticed I've just got a bit of adhesive or something in the corner there, so that's an ideal spot to put a nice large gem like that. There we go, that's covered that up, and then we'll put a couple of smaller ones just dotted around. And there you go. Our box with 12 greeting cards made with the lovely peony suite. I do hope you like this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and also if you hit on the bell icon, you'll also be notified when I upload some more videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.